The first book of Samuel. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim, of the mountains of Ephraim.
I wonder how much time has passed since Ruth. Like when does Samuel take place?
And his name was Elkanah, the son of Jerome, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. This man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there. And whenever the time came for Elkanah to make an offering...
So they're still priests. That's good. I mean, we still had priests back in Judges. They just didn't know what they were doing. I mean, they knew what they were doing, but they were doing some things wrong. Let's just say that.
He would give portions to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah, although the Lord had closed her womb. And her rival also provoked her severely to make her miserable, because the Lord had closed her womb. So it was, year by
Why did God
year,
close her womb?
when she
Did she
went
do
up to the
something
house
wrong?
of the Lord, that she provoked her. Therefore she wept, and did not eat. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her,
Hannah, why do you weep?
Okay, but see, let me just put these blinds down a bit. It's glaring a little bit. Is it still? Oh, wow. Well, that's cool. It's a cool little thing to look into right here, because it says the Lord closed her womb, right? It could mean that she had done something wrong and God actually intervened and closed her womb, or it could be that she was not able to bear children. And describing the fact that she can't bear children, they just said, in order to describe that, they said God closed her womb, right? Because all things happen through God. So in that way, which is what I think they're going with here, because it doesn't seem like she did anything wrong. They're just describing the fact that her womb was closed, that she couldn't bear children. So for some reason, she couldn't bear children. So who else could do something like that? God did it, right? So in that way, back in the Exodus, how God hardened Pharaoh's heart. Did God actually intervene and harden Pharaoh's heart? Or were they just describing the events that Pharaoh's heart was hardened and who else could do it but God? Meaning, everything that happens is under him, right? So it's just another way of describing the situation. If you catch my drift.
said to her,
Hannah, why do you weep? Why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Am I not better to you than 10 sons?
So Hannah arose after they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the tabernacle of the Lord. And she was in bitterness of soul, and prayed to the Lord, and wept in anguish. Then she made a vow.
O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant, and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall come upon his head.
And it happened, as she continued praying
No
before
razor
the
shall
Lord,
come upon his
that
head. So, do you think that came from the idea of... does she literally mean no razor? Like they won't use a razor, say, but you could use something else on his head? Because I never heard that Samuel didn't cut his hair. Or could this practice have come from Samson right? Because God had chosen Samson to be a judge, one of the judges in Judges, right? He ruled over the children of Israel for a time. And God had told him not to cut his hair. And that's where his strength came from, right? So did this practice come from that? Where you're giving, because Samson was given to God, right? Just like this, as he was born. And that was one of the promises, don't cut his hair. So I'm curious if that's where this is coming from as well.
Eli watched her mouth. Now Hannah spoke in her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli thought she was drunk.
Come on, Eli, why making
How
assumptions?
long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you.
No, my lord. I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief, I have spoken until now.
Okay, this is interesting, right? It says, please do not consider your maidservant a wicked woman. A wicked woman for why? For drinking? For being intoxicated? Or for drinking and being intoxicated and then communing with God? Because, as we saw in, I think it was in Leviticus, that drinking alcohol doesn't make you unclean, right? It's not a sin. But they cannot enter the tabernacle under the influence. So, I wonder if the what is the word? The perception. I wonder if the perception to alcohol has changed, or is he just calling her? If she's saying, "Please don't consider me a wicked woman," because of the fact that he thinks she's intoxicated and trying to commune with God. But I don't understand that. Why would it not? Maybe fine, it's not unclean but if it's not something you want to do while talking with God, why do it? That means there is something negative about it, right? You're not at your best. So why do it? I don't understand. Why is it okay?
Grief. I have spoken.
Why does that not make you unclean, yet touching the carcass of a dead animal make you unclean? That literally makes you unclean. So I don't know. Let me know your guys' thoughts about that. We did talk about that earlier in Leviticus, and we're going off on a tangent. So let's get back to this.
Spoken until now.
Go in peace. And the God of Israel grant your petition which you have asked of him.
Let your maidservant find favor in your sight.
So the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad. Then they rose early in the
That's
morning
good.
and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house at Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and the Lord remembered her. So it came to pass, in the process of time, that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and called his name Samuel.
Because I have asked for him from the Lord.
Now the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband,
Not until the child is weaned. Then I will take him that he may appear before the Lord and remain there forever.
So Elkanah, her
Aw,
husband,
that must have been
said
hard.
to her,
She's waited for that child for so long, prayed, and said, "You know what? Please, God, give me a child, and I'll give him to you." She just wanted to have a child, and now she has to give him to God. Like, imagine that. It's something you promised, and it'll be good for the child and good for the community. But at the same time, you want to keep him, right? And she'll be coming and visiting every single day. Watch.
Do what seems best to you. Wait until you have weaned him. Only let the Lord establish his word.
Then the woman stayed and nursed her son until she had weaned him. Now when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bulls, 1 ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. And the child was young. Then they slaughtered a bull, and brought the child to Eli.
Oh, my lord, as your soul lives, my lord, I am the woman who stood by you here, praying to the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore, I also have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord.
So they worshipped the Lord there.
I am curious regarding this, right? She took him up with her with 3 bulls, 1 ephah of flour, a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh. But okay, by the way, Shiloh, that's where the tabernacle was. So that's cool. It's the same. The house of the Lord is in the same place. But remember back when we were talking about a Nazirite, one who's promised himself to God. I don't remember if there was an offering needed to be made, and I'm curious if this was that offering, right? Because they're offering up Samuel's life to God right now to serve God. So I'm curious. I don't remember if there was an offering, and if there was this it? That would be interesting. That would be really cool if it was.
And Hannah prayed.
My heart rejoices in the Lord.
Well, the voice actor
My
seems
horn
like she
is exalted
smiling
in the
brightly
Lord.
there.
I smile at my enemies, because I rejoice in your salvation. No one is holy like the Lord, for there is none besides you. Nor is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so very proudly.
Okay, this is good. I'm happy to hear this. This looks like she is devoted to God, right? I mean, she just had her prayer answered, right? And this is good, because we all through Judges, majority of Judges they were lost. Even nearing the end of Judges, they were talking with God. Levites were praying to God, being priests of God, but they were mixing that with idol worship. So, and we saw how lax they became with Samson and all that, right? So it looks like here, at least Hannah is devoted to God. Is that only right now because of the miracle God has provided her of bearing her a son? Or how about the rest of the people? Right? I don't know. And I'm curious also, is the tabernacle still the tabernacle like a tent? Or do we have a more permanent structure now? Because we've been in the promised land for hundreds of years, centuries by now.
Let no arrogance come from your mouth, for the Lord is the God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and those who stumbled are girded with strength. Those who were full have hired themselves out for bread, and the hungry have ceased to hunger. Even the barren has borne 7, and she who has many children has become feeble. The Lord kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and brings up. The Lord makes poor and makes rich. He brings low and lifts up. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the beggar from the ash heap to set them among princes.
Talk about Moses right there. But this is providing more evidence of the fact that when she said, like with Moses hardening of Pharaoh's heart, and what did Hannah say? I forgot what Hannah said. I wouldn't be in this. Dang it, I forgot what Hannah said. Well, you guys probably remember in chapter 1. But by saying the Lord makes poor, right? He's not making people poor. He's not going out and saying, boom, you're poor. No, they're just describing the events or the situation using God. Because God is all-encompassing, right? So that's just more evidence of the fact that in Exodus, when God hardened Pharaoh's heart, that could be he didn't really intervene and harden Pharaoh's heart. They were just describing the fact that Pharaoh's heart was hardened.
Glory, for the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will guard the feet of his saints, but the wicked shall be silent in darkness.
This goes along with the Hebrew cosmology view, right? We looked at that a lot in Genesis.
Shall be silent in darkness. For by strength no man shall prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. From heaven he will thunder against them. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed.
Then Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the child
he will give strength
ministered
to his
to the Lord.
king. But there is no king yet, right? There is no, or is there? Did we skip? No, Saul was the first king. There's no King Saul yet. And exalt the horn of his anointed. But there is no one ruler up at the top. So what's going on? Let me see if this Bible has any explanation. Chapter 2, verse 10. The word for anointed means Messiah. This phrase points to the ultimate king, before whom every knee shall bow. Wouldn't K be capitalized, Ben, if they're talking about the Messiah? He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Okay, so this is the first... Right? I don't think we had I think maybe we did. Had a reference to the Messiah earlier on. I'm not sure. I think we might have had one. But I feel like this is the most clear reference. It's either to the Messiah or to another king. And they haven't had a king yet. His king. His anointed. So, it could be the Messiah. Or they've been exposed to the idea of a king. I mean, they have, because the neighboring cities, the neighboring towns and areas, and have had kings. So I'm curious. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that they're referring to an earthly king, like a human for them, or are they talking about? Is she talking about the Messiah here? Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments.
To his king. And exalt the horn of his anointed.
Then Elkanah went to his house at Ramah, but the child ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. Now the sons of Eli...
Because why would Hannah refer to the Messiah? Because they don't really need a Messiah. They're not... They're free in their own land right now. Anyways, let's keep going.
...were corrupt. They did not know the Lord. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3-pronged flesh hook in his hand while the meat was boiling. Then he would thrust it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot and the priest would take for himself all that the flesh hook brought up. So they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who sacrificed,
Give meat for roasting to the priest, for he will not take boiled meat from you, but raw.
And if the man said to him,
They should really burn the fat first.
Yeah.
Then you may take as much as your heart desires.
The fat is gone.
he would then answer him,
No, but you must give it now, and if not, I will take it by force.
Therefore the sin of the young men was very great.
Yeah, so they're going against the laws God had given regarding offerings. But I'm surprised they even remembered that, considering all they went through in Judges. They threw out all the rules. So now they're following the rules of offering. Okay, but hopefully you got everything else in order. Well, I mean, these sinful young men aren't following the rules of offering, but as a whole, right? They're remembering the rules of offering and they know what they should be doing. So I'm surprised at that even.
Great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offering of the Lord. But Samuel ministered before the Lord even as a child, wearing a linen ephod. Moreover, his mother used to make him a little robe and bring it to him year by year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife.
The Lord give you descendants from this woman for the loan that was given to the Lord.
Then they would go to their own home. And the Lord visited Hannah so that she conceived and bore 3 sons and 2 daughters.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the child Samuel grew before the Lord. Now Eli was very old, and he heard everything his sons did to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting.
Why do you do such things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all the people. No, my sons, for it is not a good report that I hear. You make the Lord's people transgress. If one man sins against another, God will judge him. But if a man sins against the Lord, who will intercede for him?
Nevertheless, they did not heed the voice of their father, because the Lord desired to kill them.
Holy.
And the child Samuel grew in stature and in favor, both with the Lord and men. Then a man of God came to Eli and said,
But it's another very interesting sentence. Right? Nevertheless, they did not heed the voice of their father, because the Lord desired to kill them. So did the Lord prevent them from hearing the word of their father because he wanted to kill them? Or are they describing the situation at hand? Because who knows, right? God's probably going to kill them at a later point, and they're describing, and this was written after that point, and they're just writing it, right? That's probably what it was. Not that God purposely stopped them from listening to their father so that he could kill them.
Said to him,
Thus says the Lord, Did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? Did I not choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon my altar, to burn incense, and to wear an ephod before me? And did I not give to the house of your father all the offerings of the children of Israel made by fire? Why do you kick at my sacrifice and my offering which I have commanded in my dwelling place, and honor your sons more than me, to make yourselves fat with the best of all the offerings of Israel, my people? Therefore, the Lord God of Israel says, I said indeed that your house and the house of your father would walk before me forever. But now the Lord says, Far be it from me, for those who honor me I will honor, and those who despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days are coming that I will cut off your arm and the arm of your father's house, so that there will not be an old man in your house. And you will see an enemy in my dwelling place, despite all the good which God does for Israel. And there shall not be an old man in your house forever. But any of your men whom I do not cut off from my altar shall consume your eyes and grieve your heart. And all the descendants of your house shall die in the flower of their age. Now this shall be a sign to you that will come upon your 2 sons, on Hophni and Phinehas. In one day they shall die, both of them. Then I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who shall do according to what is in my heart and in my mind. I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before my anointed forever. And it shall come to pass that everyone who is left in your house will come and bow down to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and say, Please, put me in one of the priestly positions, that I may eat a piece of bread.
And it shall come to pass that everyone who is left in your house will come and bow to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and say, Please put me in one of the priestly positions that I may eat a piece of bread. This is interesting. This is really cool. Let me just get this straight. This is really cool. This is really cool because it was just another man. Right? Oh, where was it? Then a man of God came to Eli and said to him, Who is this man of God? Right? It didn't say a priest. It didn't say, was it someone from the tribe of Levi? Or was it just another guy who had a close relationship with God? Because if it is just another guy who had a close relationship with God, that's really cool. Because all this time, right, the Levites inherited God, right? And they've been the ones to go to him and do all the priestly duties and all that stuff. But but if this is just another guy who just had a close relationship with God, that shows that just like how we believe today, anybody can commune with God, have a relationship with him, right? God can use anybody. Let me see what this Bible's got to say about this. 1 Samuel chapter 27. The man of God was an unidentified prophet or a spokesman for the Lord. All right, okay. That don't give me much. Well, it doesn't say much. Okay, what else could it say? But that's really cool. That's really cool. This shows that anybody can commune with God. That must have been I feel like that could have been a shock to Eli and the tribe of Levi, because I haven't heard of this up until now, right? Well, we had Balaam who communicated with God, and he wasn't even a child of Israel. So that just shows another example of how anybody can have a relationship with God. You don't have to be of God's chosen people. We are all God's chosen people. So that's cool. Let's do chapter 3 now.
Now the boy Samuel ministered to the Lord before Eli. And the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no widespread revelation. And it came to...
And the word of the Lord was rare in those days. We just had it. So that must have been an even bigger deal. Now the boy Samuel ministered to the Lord before Eli. And the word of the Lord was rare in those days. There was no widespread revelation. So God hasn't come down and talked to the people of Israel, the children of Israel, in a while. And we've seen that in Judges. God has not talked to his people in a while. He has stayed away. He said he couldn't handle it anymore. He sort of gave up, like it was too much. It hurt him too much. And then we saw him talk a little bit when the rest of Israel was going up against the Benjamites. And then here again, apparently he was silent for some time. And now he's going to speak with Samuel again. Okay, let's go. So this is it. This is when Israel finally turns back around fully. Hopefully.
And it came to pass at that time, while Eli was lying down in his place, and when his eyes had begun to grow so dim that he could not see, and before the lamp of God went out in the tabernacle of the Lord where the ark of God was, and while Samuel was lying down, that the Lord called Samuel. And he answered,
Here I am.
So he ran to Eli.
Here I am, for you called me.
I did not call. Lie down again.
And he went.
Cool thing is, maybe Eli has never even heard God's voice for himself in his whole life. Maybe, right? So he keeps telling Samuel, go back, lie down. I didn't call you. And then he realizes this is God talking to Samuel. That must have been crazy, because they haven't heard God in a while. That would have been crazy if that's the case.
Again.
And he went and lay down. Then the Lord called yet again,
Samuel.
So Samuel arose and went to Eli.
Here I am, for you called me.
I did not call my son. Lie down again.
Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, nor was the word of the Lord yet revealed to him. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. So he arose and went to Eli.
Here I am, for you did call me.
Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the boy.
Go. Lie down. And it shall be, if he calls you, that you must say, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears.
So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood and called as at other times.
Samuel. Samuel.
Speak, for your
Imagine
servant.
that. Samuel's probably getting chills. Because all this time you're thinking, Eli's probably calling me. Come on, I need to get back to sleep. Why are you calling me in the middle of the night? There's something wrong, seriously. It's not you? All right, I'll go back to sleep. Here you're calling again. Runs over there. It's not you again? And then now Eli tells him, say, when you hear that voice, say, Speak, Lord, for your servant hears. So now he's anticipating, waiting for that voice. Is it going to come again? Is it not going to come again? Did I miss it? Did I miss my chance? Is this really God? And then he hears a voice, Samuel, Samuel. And then he says, Speak, for your servant hears. And his heart must be pounding at that point. And just waiting for the next word to come out. And then God says, Behold. And then he's just like, holy cow. This is actually happening. That must be crazy.
For your servant hears.
Behold, I will do something in Israel, at which both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. In that day, I will perform.
Behold, I will do something in Israel, at which both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. So God's doing widespread, mass-scale ASMR. That's what's going on right now.
In that day, I will perform against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house, from beginning to end. For I have told him that I will judge his house forever, for the iniquity which he knows, because his sons made themselves vile, and he did not restrain them. And therefore I have sworn to the house of Eli, that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned for by sacrifice or offering forever.
So Samuel lay down until morning, and opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the vision. Then Eli called Samuel.
Yeah.
Samuel, my son,
That must be
Here
scary
I
to
am.
tell.
what is the word that the Lord spoke to you? Please do not hide it from me. God do so to you and more also, if you hide anything from me of all the things that he said to you.
Then Samuel told him everything, and hid nothing from him.
It is the Lord. Let him do what seems good to him.
So Samuel grew, and the Lord was with him, and let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, knew that Samuel had been established as a prophet of the Lord.
The boy prophet.
Then the Lord appeared again in Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel in Shiloh by the word of the Lord.
So while reading the text, he had a revelation, seems like, right? By the word of the Lord.
And the word of Samuel came to all Israel.
Now Israel went out to battle against the Philistines, and encamped beside Ebenezer, and the Philistines encamped in Aphek. Then the Philistines put themselves in battle array against Israel. And when they joined battle, Israel was defeated by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 men of the army in the field. And when the people had come into the camp, the elders of Israel said,
Why has the Lord defeated us today before
Is
the
Samuel
Philistines?
of the line of Aaron? Let me look that up real quick. Was Samuel a descendant of Aaron? Because only the descendants of Aaron can be high priests. Elkanah, the father of Samuel, was of Mount Ephraim, an Ephraimite, an Ephrathite. Elimelech, Mahlon, and Chilion were Ephrathites of Bethlehem, Judah, Ruth. So Samuel's father was either of Ephraim or of Judah, not Levi. Because of the tribe of Ephraim, which was different from the tribe of Levi, right? I think it did say Ephraim at the beginning. Yeah. Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jehoram, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and an Ephraimite. And he had 2 wives, and the name of one was Hannah. Was Hannah a descendant of Aaron? I don't even know if Samuel becomes the high priest. Was Hannah a descendant of Aaron? Hannah, Old Testament, also spelled Anna. Childless as one of the 2 wives of Elkanah. She prayed. Well, yeah, we don't have any. Yeah, I guess we don't have any other information on her except for that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens if Samuel becomes a high priest or not.
Let us bring the ark of the covenant of the Lord from Shiloh to us, that when it comes among...
I'm surprised that he's even a priest. I mean, he's given himself, right? Anybody can become a Nazirite, promising their lives to God, right? But they can't do like the priestly, right? But the priestly duties, right, that were described in Leviticus, or was it Deuteronomy, are meant for the Levites. But you can promise yourself to God and you can help out. So that's what Samuel is.
The ark of the covenant of the Lord
into the camp. The elders of Israel said,
Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the covenant.
Did you ask God before going out there? Is it God's will that you're out there? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Of the Lord from Shiloh to us, that when it comes among us, it may save us from the hand of our enemy.
All right, see, you're getting the wrong idea. The Ark of the Covenant is not going to save you. It's literally made of wood plated with gold, right? So, yeah, that object is not going to save you. God is going to save you. We're slipping back into idolatry. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
Save us from the hand of our enemies.
So the people sent to Shiloh, that they might bring from there the ark of the covenant of the Lord of hosts, who dwells between the cherubim. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. And when the ark of the covenant of the Lord came into the camp, all Israel shouted so loudly that the earth shook. Now when the Philistines heard the noise of the shout, they said,
What does the sound of this great shout in the camp of the Hebrews mean?
Then they understood that the ark of the Lord had come into the camp. So the Philistines were afraid, for they said,
God has come into the camp.
Woe to us, for such a thing has never happened before.
Right? Because they've probably heard of the stories of the children of Israel defeating and conquesting kingdoms. And they never carried the Ark of the Covenant before them, right? And they're used to idols. They want a physical representation, right? Something that you can look upon. And something that's tangible, right? So now this makes it real. Like God is coming into the camp. We're scared now, right? Because see that object over there? That means something bad for us, right? It makes it more real. So even though that God was there the whole time, He's always watching. The fact that now something is changing physically, right? The ark is moving locations and coming to the camp of Israel. That's scary.
For such a thing has never happened before.
But
woe to us! Who will deliver us from the hand of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with all the plagues in the wilderness. Be strong and conduct yourselves like men, you Philistines, that you do not become servants of the Hebrews, as they have been to you. Conduct yourselves like men and fight.
So the Philistines fought, and Israel was defeated, and every man fled.
Yo, think about how hyped and how the Philistines must have been like sky high right now. They just defeated Israel when their gods were with them. The same gods that struck down the Egyptians and brought plagues and brought them out of the wilderness. They just defeated Israel in the accompaniment of their gods. Or so they thought. Imagine, like, that means our God's better than your gods. We're better than you. We destroyed you. So, but in reality, God was always watching. God didn't need the Ark of the Covenant to be there. Right? This is all the children of Israel, they're becoming weak in the mind. All those years of idol worship has weakened their faith and weakened their mind. Right? And they must feel crushed. They're thinking, we have the Ark of the Covenant here. God is going to protect us because the Ark of the Covenant is God lives in that thing, right? So that means God is here now, but if we bring it over here and then we did lose, that means even with God, we lost. What is going on, right? So they don't understand. They don't understand how it works. So they're still lost. They're still lost. Children of Israel are still lost, or at least the military is lost.
And Israel was defeated, and every man fled to his tent. There was a very great slaughter, and there fell of Israel 30,000 foot soldiers. Also, the Ark of God was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, died. Then a man of Benjamin ran from the battle line the same day and came to Shiloh with his clothes torn and dirt on his head. Now when he came, there was Eli, sitting on a seat by the wayside watching, for his heart trembled for the Ark of God. And when the man came into the city and told it, all the city cried out. When Eli heard the noise of the outcry, he said,
"What does the sound of this tumult mean?"
And the man came quickly and told Eli. Eli was 98 years old, and his eyes were so dim that they could not see. Then the man said to Eli,
I am he who came from the battle, and I fled today from the battle line.
What happened, my son?
Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has been a great slaughter among the people. Also, your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the Ark of God has been captured.
But okay, so back in Exodus, when we were doing the census, they had a census for the tribes of Israel and said this is the fighting aged people. Then they had a separate census for the tribes of Levi. So I'm guessing they weren't in the military, but here Hophni and Phinehas were out fighting. Interesting.
Happened when he made mention of the Ark of God, that Eli fell off the seat backward by the side of the gate, and his neck was broken, and he died. For the man was old and heavy, and he had judged Israel 40 years. Now his daughter-in-law, Phinehas' wife, was with child, due to be delivered. And when she heard the news that the Ark of God was captured, that her father-in-law and her husband were dead, she bowed herself and gave birth, for her labor pains came upon her. And about the time of her death, the women who stood by her said to her,
"Do not fear, for you have borne a son."
But she did not answer, nor did she regard it. Then she named the child Ichabod.
The glory has departed from Israel.
Because the Ark of God had been captured, and because of her father-in-law and her husband.
The glory has departed from Israel, For the
Her
ark
father-in-law.
of God has been captured.
He didn't do anything. All right, well, that's it for chapter 4. Tomorrow we're going to jump into chapter 5. I just want to confirm that Eli is a Levite. He has to been. He has to have been. Eli's family line would be supplanted by a more faithful priest. I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who will do according to what is in my heart and mind. I will firmly establish his priestly house, and they will minister before my appointed one always. So is that going to be Samuel? The priest God raised up was a boy named Samuel. So now we're moving away. So the Levites are not the only group of people that are dedicated to God to work, that have inherited God, right? Now God has moved past that. Okay. So the tribe of Levi is not the only priestly God-chosen tribe to work in the tabernacle. God has chosen Samuel for that. Okay. Unless we can track down Hannah's roots back to the tribe of Levi. I'm not sure if we can. But that's interesting. Let me know your thoughts down below. Anything you have to say down below in the comments section. I'd love to read it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for chapter 5. The Philistines and the Ark. All right. I'll see you guys then. Take care. Bye-bye.